I'm about to see if we got some sound. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Yes, I hear the sound. So before we start, we're going to face the east, which is this way, and give all praises to the one true power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. To those new to the channel, Yahweh is the Most High God, the Heavenly Father. Yahushai is who the world innately calls Jesus, or JC. A mighty, double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well through the Spirit, and a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit, teaching His word and believing in His word. Lord willing, as a whole, that you continue in sound doctrine. Shalom to the Akwaf, the sisters of this faith. Lord willing, you continue to pursue your lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. And Lord willing, Yahweh Shema Shai has mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. Now, the title, straight to the point, we in the spirit of prophecy, and do you truly believe? I actually want to continue on with the topic we went to last night, going into slavery. Our children, you men and women, that slavery thing went over your head. Because now you relax, it was it's just only a thought, right? You look at it as thousands of years ago. It was actually really a few hundred years ago, before Babylon, aka America, was even established as an empire or a company, in 1776, that's when, or before that time, where we actually became servants or slaves in Babylon. But we still servants and subjected to this empire, right? When you look at prophecy, let's get into it. So when you go to the book of Daniel, which we brought out yesterday, last night, Daniel the 7th chapter, verse 23, it says, "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms." Now this fourth beast, especially going into prophecy, is speaking of Rome, right? Because the first beast, like even before that time, was the Assyrians, but it would be the Babylonians, the Persian Medes, the Greeks, and then the Romans. The Romans was the fourth beast, diverse out of all empires, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Rome did not rule the whole earth. So who actually ruled the whole earth? What is this verse going into? This is going into Daniel the 7th chapter, verse 8, speaking about the little horn, right? Now, even if you say you heard this, I heard it, but that's still being in the spirit of prophecy, because now we can identify the captivity that we in. Just because you're not physically getting beat like your ancestors, children, women was, this is still an empire, right? That if we want to say when next year come, they've been ruling for 250 years. Right now it's 249. But you've been in the hands, you know, for 599 years in the hands of the Europeans, right? Starting all the way back in 1619, but you can go even further than that in the 1500s, especially when the Europeans came over here messing and killing the Northern Kingdom. But this Revelations 19:10, it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahushai. Worship the Most High, for the testimony of Yahushai is the spirit of prophecy, right? When you go into Isaiah 8:20, it says to the law and to the testimony. From the first 5 books of the Bible to the testimony of Yahushai. You can find testimonies of Yahushai throughout the scriptures. No, you can't. It don't say Jesus or Christ or Yahushai anywhere. Hey, then that must mean that you don't have the spirit of understanding. Because throughout the whole Bible, it's not just going to say Yahushai. Your dates. What dates is wrong? What dates you talking about? Nobody didn't say no dates. Oh, you talking about from 1619 to 1696? We can even calculate it. Wait. 16 no, Salaki. 1669. No, Salaki, I'm over here saying the number wrong. 1969 subtract 1619. So the reason why the 250 years, that goes into subtracting 2025 from 1776. That would be 249 years. But 1969 subtract 1619 goes into Revelations, the 11th chapter, which begs to question everything you're saying, because when you find out error, they're uncovered a lot of error. So trust me, we were here in the 1400s. You don't remember that at all in history. No, actually, we was here, but not the whole 12 tribes, only the Northern Kingdom. So really, you're right, but you ain't even speaking no facts, right? So let's actually just show the actual facts, because it's in scriptures. Because I can show only the Northern Kingdom been here before the 1400s. The Northern Kingdom been in here since BC, before Yahushai came into play. Bet you didn't know that one, silly rabbit. So this is second Esdras. So to really fulfill what I said in 1969 from 1619, that's when the Southern Kingdom fully came over here, and that's when the full persecution on the Northern and Southern Kingdom, even though the Europeans came here way before they brought the Northern Kingdom over here. That's why the Europeans was fully afflicting the Northern Kingdom in the time of the 1500s, right? Because they brought that Jesus image all the way here after the J's was created in the 1500s, right? So this second Esdras, the 13th chapter, in verse 40, it says, and those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land into the time of Hosea, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and led them over the water, which after were brought into a strange land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, and they might keep his statutes, which they had not kept in their own land. But they came into it through the narrow passage of the river Euphrates. And the Most High did wonders for them and stopped the flow of the rivers till they passed over. For the journey through the countries is 1.5 years long. And they came into the land which is called Arsarith, right? Which, if you break it down in the Hebrew, means another land, right? Means another land. So before a European came over here, the Northern Kingdom was here. Now, you could go into a YouTube, it's a YouTube video, it's actually a movie dealing with Christopher Columbus, where he read the book of Esdras, saying that the Gadites or the Native Americans was in this Western hemisphere. So really, we can even do some digging research. Let's do some actual research. Let me actually do this. Columbus. So, Salaki, I'm trying to get this fact real quick. Oh, you a Juju Ben, right? If you Jewish is a false title, because Jewish, they say that they get their Jewish identity from a woman. So you don't believe in the Bible. You get your identity from a man. So when we look at in October 12, 1442, Columbus sailed under the Spanish crown of King Ferdinand, Queen Elizabeth, and landed on an island in the Bahamas. He believed he had reached the Indies in Asia, but had actually arrived in the Western Hemisphere, marking the beginning of sustained European contact with the Americas. From 1493 to 1505, Columbus made 4 voyages across the Atlantic, exploring parts of the Caribbean, including Cuba, right? Modern Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the coast of Central and South America. Columbus and other European powers, Spain, Portugal, England, France, the Netherlands, began exploring and colonizing and conquered territories in the Americas throughout the 1500s and the 1600s. Now, just because Christopher Columbus searched this land, the affliction until they brought their armies and inflict and made war, which start going back to what I said about when the Renaissance happened, right? When we go over to Revelations, the 11th chapter, Revelations chapter 11, verse 7, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast ascended out of the bottomless pit, and shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them, right? So just like how we look at the movie Pocahontas, Apocalypto, right? It came over multiple of times where they were actually making war against the Native Americans. Just like we just did this research, let's look at when George Washington made war, because it's talking about the bottomless, the pit, the beast coming out the bottomless pit. That beast is going back to Rome. The bottomless is talking about Europe, which is a pit, a land, right, an unbarren land. So what was it? When did George Washington make war with the Native Americans? Who said? I don't know if I said that. I don't remember saying that. Let's look at the date. So George Washington fought against Native Americans before and after the American Revolution. So before and after, George Washington went into war with the Native and African Americans. Now, before I read this, the 1619, the 1969 goes into what we're reading in Revelations, the 11th chapter. When you read verse 8, they did not only make war with the Northern Kingdom, right? They came over here first and messed with the Northern Kingdom because they had to search this land. Then the Europeans even doubled back into the African mountains and bought Israelite southern slaves, because what I just read in 2nd Esdras, you didn't bring out not one verse. Jewish people don't believe in the whole Bible, where the Northern Kingdom came here in BC. The Southern Kingdom went through the Babylonian Empire captivity, the Persian Medes captivity, the Greek captivity, and the Roman captivity. Rome fell, then it became the Dark Ages. The Northern Kingdom was all over here. When the Europeans rose, Christopher Columbus, between the 1400s up to the 1500s, he searched these lands from North America to Central America, right? Then what did they do? When they made camp, they sent out scouts back to their land, and they brought military, army, missionaries, and they came over here acting like pilgrims with gunpowder and all this other extra stuff, and they was making massacres against the native. And it just said that George Washington fought against the Native Americans before and after American Revolution. 1754 to 1763, the French and Indian War. This was before United States was established. But guess what? They were enslaving Native Americans and Southern Americans, because when they actually grabbed up the Southern Americans, right? I mean, not Southern Americans, the Southern Kingdom of Yasharella, right? In 1619, even before that, they were bringing them and scattering them 4 corners of the earth. Even before they got the Southern Kingdom, they were scattering the Northern Kingdom 4 corners of the earth, right? Where they split America. Louisiana Purchase, putting some of the Mexicans in Mexico, putting some of the Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico, putting some of the other tribes, which we see on the 12 tribes chart, all throughout Brazil, Cuba, the DR, right? He was separating the 12 tribes, right? So in 1754, as a young lieutenant, he led British forces against the French and their Native American allies. The war was mainly between Britain and France, but many native tribes allied with one side or another. Washington early battled with the Battle of Fort Senecity were directly against Native Americans and French forces. This war was part of the global conflict, the 7-Year Wars, and it ended with Britain taking most of France's land in North America, changing the balance of the native control. The Revolutionary War, after 1783, after America gained independence, Washington became president in 1789. The Southern Kingdom was already over here. So when you go back to Revelations, this is why we love going into prophecy, because yes, you can go into history, but you always have to line it with prophecy. So yes, when you read Revelations 11, and we already read that the beast ascended out of the bottomless pit, out of Europe, and this is where we get into the Renaissance, the rebirth. The rebirth of who? The rebirth of Rome. And shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. So yes, they had a motion to come and make war with the Northern Kingdom, search this land, right? The things of gold, silver, animals, minerals, the things that they could find on this side, even though it was all ordained by the Heavenly Father, and simultaneously going into the African mountains and trying to find the Southern Kingdom, which would be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, that are mixed with Hamites, Egyptians, all different people in the African country. Verse 8, And then now it skips. So now that we understand that they make war against them and it shall overcome them and kill them, how many wars did George Washington go through with the natives? 20 different wars and won each one. Some of them, he tried to make a treaty, which I have a book. You can go look it up on Amazon, how white folks got rich. And they showed you they made 400 treaties with the natives and broke each one. But in between of manipulating the natives, they were going to capture the southern kingdom to fulfill Jeremiah 50 and 33. Right? Israel and Judah were oppressed together. Right? That fully happened between 1619 and 1969, which eventually ushered in the truth coming in, which is after 350 years, even though it's 350 plus, right? Because the southern and northern kingdom was getting afflicted by them a little even longer than 350 years. But as prophecy says, right? Verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Now, that pushing of the Jesus statue or picture did not establish until they came and made war. Then they set up shop, right? They were telling the natives, right? Hey, you got to worship this. Go into other countries, you got to worship this, right? And even in the same time, when we start getting into the 1500s, they start manipulating different letters, making a new language, right? Which is that English or England language, and pushing this four corners of the earth, right? So the Israelites became dead in a state, really speaking about Babylon, but wherever they put the Israelites, because they scattered them four corners of the earth, they were dead from the neck up. And that was spiritual dead, because they had no wisdom, knowledge, or understanding of who they is. And they were in a foundation, which when America fully got established, which we're going to understand, when in between 1619 and 1969, what happened? 1776, America was established, right? We have the records, right? I can show you a picture where America was established in 1776. The northern and southern kingdom was in the hands of these Edomites. I don't know if you guys can see this, but you can see at the bottom the U.S. established in 1776. Now we can go to other history where they actually back up. America fully became an empire or a kingdom, right? In 1776. So in between that time, then we lead all the way up to 1969, which will fulfill. So if America became an empire in 1776, that ushered in the push of Egypt. Exodus 20 and 2. Egypt means a house of bondage. This became a house of bondage for the southern and northern kingdom. Not just only in Babylon, in the whole earth. Right? But this great city is really speaking about America becoming Egypt, a house of bondage. Sodom, because they started accepting and pushing that same Sodom and Gomorrah spirit. They crucified the name of the Lord, or they crucified the Lord by the name, the doctrine, his image, right? Bringing out false image of Hamashiach Yahushai, which was all a counsel fulfilling even more Psalms 83. And that Psalms 83 was in multiple situations in history. But verse 9, it says, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. These nations start with Esau and the other nations out of the Israelites. They saw our dead body. They saw that we were in a dead estate. We were asleep. We didn't know who he was. That's Isaiah 65:15. The Lord is going to call us by another name. 2nd Ezra 2 and 7. Our names was removed out the earth. You're not called Judah no more. You're not called Benjamin, Levi. No Israelite was called Jewish. So we know that this person, Sean Baker, is not an Israelite, technically, right? If you're going by Jewish, you're not an Israelite, right? Jewish was made up by the small hats. It's either you were a Jew or you were considered, you know, like the Northern Kingdom, an Israelite, which all the 12 tribes are Israelites. Jew was just short for Judah. Okay? So it says that their dead bodies 3 days and a half, right? The 3 days and a half is really speaking about 350 years, which when you subtract 1969, everybody that just heard me, all these dates, subtract 1969 from 1619. What number do you get? Go look it up. 1969 subtract 1619. What number do you get? What number do you get? 1969 to 1619. What number do you get? Now you can put on a comment board, yes or not, right? It's 350 years, right? But when you subtract 2025 from 1776, when America was established, how many years is that? So from 2025, subtract 1776, what number do you get? You get 250 years. You get 249 years. That means since 1776 till 9, America was established for 249 years. But when you calculate what I said earlier, the Northern and Southern Kingdom have been dealt with by the Europeans for 599 years, right? So even if, just like what the person was saying, my numbers wasn't incorrect, maybe if that person would have actually listened to the whole conclusion, they would have understood. When you subtract 5 from 599 years, you get 1426. Look at that. 1426. You got to know what you're talking about in prophecy, man. Right? We've been in the hands of our adversaries. Right? Let me look at this. Salaki. Right? So if 350 years is the deadest state of the Israelites, 350 years plus 249, how much is that? Go look it up. Go look it up. Why are you on here? Whatever you doing, you walking, talking, you pushing a stroller, go to your calculator on your damn phone, type in 350 years, which you just said in Revelations 11 in verse 9, tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. Then you say plus, how long has America been an empire? Right? So from 2025 subtract 1776, that is 249 years. So you type in 249 years, you click equals, what is that? 599 years. So now you type in 2025, subtract 599 years, you get 426 years that the Southern and Northern Kingdom had to deal with the Europeans. So if that person actually would have listened, right, they would have actually heard information, right? So let's go back to the top. This person said, oh, you're wrong on your history. You're wrong on those numbers. Trust me. Try again. 1492. You still wrong, right? The Southern and Northern Kingdom was being dealt with by the Europeans even before that, man. Right? Because when the Dark Ages happened, right, you had even Ishmael and the Hamites, they started having their little empire. When you go to Joel, the 3rd chapter, they start doing their thing, especially if you go into certain history, circular history. Then when you go into when Rome, actually, let's look up some information. I love looking up some information. Okay. Hold on. Renaissance happened. Okay. When the Roman Renaissance, the European Renaissance, Renaissance means rebirth, happened, the Renaissance began roughly around 300, roughly, this is approximately estimate, 1300 AD, and continued until the 1600 AD, right? And they were already shipping Jake over here between 1619, but they were already being dealt with. When you watch the movie, the Woman King, what you think that they was doing over here? They was shipping Jake into other countries, the Southern Kingdom, and coming even over here to mess with the Northern Kingdom, which between like in the mid 1400s to the 1500s, they were messing with the Northern Kingdom, making war with them. The British and the French and other Europeans was coming here to take over this land, and they was fighting amongst each other, right? Which you got the Louisiana Purchase, you got some Edomites ruling over here, right? But this was really when 1776 happened. Those certain Europeans or colonies, right, of Europe, when they tried to separate from Britain, because America is a descendant or a daughter of Britain. It says it started in Italy, approximately in Florence, and later spread to Rome, then throughout Europe, France, England, and Spain. In Rome, the height of the Renaissance was during the 1500s, right? Because it was levels, right? It said, especially under popes like Pope Julius II, Pope Leo, who founded massive art and architect projects. Michelangelo painting the chapel, rebuilding of St. Peter's. Then it says before the Renaissance came the Dark Ages, roughly 400 to 1300 BC, right? So in between in between approximately the 1300 or late 1300s, in between the mid 1400s, that's when the Renaissance actually happened. But just because they're growing, they don't hurry up and take over lands. When you read the book, The History of Babylon and Timbuktu, because I know that man Sean Baker ain't read Babylon and Timbuktu, because that's really speaking about Jake, where what was it? The Europeans did not have any military might when they rose up into power. So the Renaissance is just a rebirth, where they're trying to get in order, right? They get the popes. What really became later on after this, and around like I think mid or late 1500s, you had the Borgia family when they actually got into power, where Pope Alexander VI became a pope, and his son eventually became like a general, which was Caesar Borgia, and he had special sexual relationships with Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. But when his son passed away, he tried to make a memorial or a statue or an image of his son that can be promoted four corners of the earth. And he said, title this the Jesus Christ, right? Because he loved his son, and he wanted his son to have a high name on the earth, and that name was Jesus Christ. So the Dark Ages was roughly 400 to 1300 AD. When the Moors and the Israelites fell from their power in Europe and Ireland, in Italy, right? What happened? Ishmael, right? Ishmael and the damn Hamites, they started to become in power. But when we fell, after that 1,000-year period, when you go to Revelations, the 20th chapter, right? This is why that person didn't bring out not one prophecy, man. This is all history. right? Let's actually go to that. What actually happened? Revelations 20 show you what happened. Revelations 20:1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Now, that angel is speaking about Yahweh Shai, a representative of Yahweh. How do we know that's Yahweh Shai? Because when you go into Revelations 1, it speaks about him saying he has the keys to hell and death. Key in the Greek is kleis, means power and authority. Yahweh Shai has all power and authority, which he's second in command under Yahweh. So hell is a condition. It could be a lower state, and he could put you to death, right? Put you in the spirit world. So he put Esau, what did it say? The keys of the bottomless pit, right? He had the keys to put Esau in the lowest state in Europe, right? Barren and unfruitful land. Europe is a land that don't bring forth minerals. It's an unprofitable land. So the Europeans, really, they stem from a unfruitful land. And a great chain in his hand because he was bound in the caves. Where you think the word Caucasian come from? Because Edomites were in the Caucasus Mountain. They were in caves, hiding, right? I bet you he didn't know this, because Jewish people, small hats, Salaki YouTube, don't believe in the whole Bible, right? They believe in the Torah and the Tanakh. They don't even believe in the prophets. Now, even more, they don't want to believe in the New Testament because it speaks of the Jews crucifying Yahweh Shai. Oh, I don't want that on my conscience. No, we didn't do that. But why would you even care? You don't even believe in Yahweh Shai. So why would you care if it say the Jews hung them? Oh, that's putting a bad name on us. You're not the people, right? When have you brought out a prophecy the Israelites are not in captivity? If you don't believe in the prophets, how can you bring out the fourth beast? And guess what? History will prove, secular history will prove, Rome ruled, the Greeks ruled, the Persian Medes, and the Babylonians, and the Assyrians, even the Egyptians. Secular history proves that. Revelations 20:2, and he laid hold the dragon, which is going back to Rome. Revelations 12, who is really symbolic to the dragon? The red nation, the Edomites, the Idumeans. It said that old serpent is the same spirit that beguiled Eve and lied to her, right? And fed her lies, right? So that old serpent is that same spirit in the garden with Adam and Eve that was in that man or in that nation. It says, which is the devil. Devil just mean a manipulator, a liar, a deceiver, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, right? So 1,000 years, that was going into when Rome fell. We just read about the Dark Ages, right? When the Dark Ages was established, 1,000 years, Jake was in that, what is it called? Black Wall Street. We were ruling, man. But, we wasn't ruling in righteousness, because when I say in righteousness, we didn't have our face towards Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, right? Because how we get in captivity, again, to fulfill prophecy. But, Jake, every time when they get in some type of power, they turn away from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So that devil and Satan was cast, that dragon was cast 1,000 years. This is why you didn't hear about Idumea afflicting any nation on the earth. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit in Europe, or unbarren land, right? They looked dirty. They were looking like cavemen. Shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more, right? He wasn't committing genocide. He wasn't pushing no false image, right? Revelations 11 did not happen until the Renaissance, until the rebirth of that Roman Empire. Come on. It says till 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. This is the little season. right? That the Europeans, or let's just say the nation, the red nation, the Edomites, they're ruling right now, and this is their little season. And we just calculated it. Let me say it again for those that care and those that don't care. The Israelites are in a dead state for 350 years, right? But it's really 300 plus, because when you look at the Empire of America only being established for 250 years, when you add 350 years to 250 years, it really accumulates that we were in a dead state or in their hands for 599 years. The Lord took that spirit from us until the mark of 350 years. The 350 years was fulfilled in 1969. Then One West came into play. In the same time of One West, they said, I think it's in October, I could be incorrect, where Edomites said that they landed on the moon. That was in 1969 to fulfill Obadiah, the first chapter, verse 3 and 4, where they said they made their nest upon the stars, right? Putting their flag or going to the space station. Come on, man. That fulfilled that scripture in 1969 when they made the space station. Prophecy, right? What verse did we bring out when we started this live? Right? Revelations 19 and 20. To the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. So we bringing out prophecy. And it was all through the spirit. Sean Porter had to open up his mouth. And he said 1419, but when you subtract 1599 to 2025, because that's the time we in right now, and you subtract all the time we've been dealing with the Europeans, that takes you all the way back to 1426. So you was wrong. Come on, man. Prophecy is over you, brother. So he'll be loose. Now, when you drop down, because verse 4, 5, and 6 is going into later on, like in this time, right? So when you go to verse 7, it says, when 1,000 years are expired. So now we're going back to with verse 1, verse 2, and 3, verse 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan will be loosed out of his prison, right? That was being in a bottomless pit. No military might, no knowledge, just a damn beast. Just like Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was exalting himself, and the Lord made him crawl like an animal, right? Esau, you was like that man on Tekken or Street Fighter. The green dude, he like a man but a beast. That's how Esau was. Verse 8, it says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, right? May God to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea, right? That in verse 8, first, because it says a comma, first, what do they have to do? They have to get out of the bottomless pit, going back to Revelations 11 and 7, establish their empire between that from 76 till now. They establish their empire, they become high, right? And what do? They deceive the nations which are four corners of the earth with that Republic Democrat mindset, which going into, because that may God, that's going to happen later on in this time. Lord willing, we are that number. What is it? Revelations, the 13th chapter. I just want to read verse 11, because when you go into the Renaissance, it goes into Revelations 13, even though the whole chapter go into it, but it elaborate in the ancient empire. But, you know, America is the revival of Rome. So when you go to Revelations 13:11, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, right? That dragon goes back into Rome. But he had two horns. The horns represents what? A kingdom, a power, right? So actually, let me get this definition. Let me make sure, right? Yeah, a power, a king, or a kingdom. And those two horns go into the Democrats and the Republicans, right? Because you got other, when you go to Daniel, the 7th chapter, when it says they smoke smooth things, that go back into the ancient Rome tradition when they had a senate, right? What do Babylon known for? They make council, the senate, the congressmen, they sit together, persuaded on what they gonna do. They agree with a court, where the president make executive orders, and then that goes into the court. The senate, the congressmen, they all meet together and make a decision if it's gonna pass. Then it goes in the court and they let it pass. That all go back to Rome, right? So, where was we at? So when you go to Revelations 20 and 9, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camps of the saints about in beloved cities, and fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them. So they, what do? When you go to 2 Ezra 16, they started afflicting those that feared the Lord, right? That's the time in between the MOT, let's say the feminine word, MOTB, and Jacob's trouble, where the ministry is going to get persecuted. They're going to look for those that fear the Lord, right? Before the news drop, they're going to be afflicting the elect. Let's back that up with a precept. This is 2 Ezra, the 16th chapter, in verse 70. For therefore shall be great insurrection against the neighboring cities because of them that fear the Most High. Right? All this has happened because of the elect that fear Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. They shall be madmen, sparing none, and abducting and hiding them that still fear Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So this affliction that they're going to compass the camp. The camp is another segment or word for use for sect. But guess what? When the feminine word come, ain't no more teaching. Ain't no more camps. But they're really going to look for the sect of the elect. They're not going to look, you 2/3, they already got you. They don't give a damn about you. But those that fear the Lord, like we just read, they care for those that still fear the Lord. Like, you don't fear me, you still fear him. That's who they coming for, right? Back to Revelations 20. So we see in verse 9, and compass the camp of the saints. The saints, Psalms 50, 55, no, Psalms 50 and 5. The saints is those that made a sacrifice unto the Lord. That goes back into the law. Only the Israelites made a sacrifice unto the Lord. Then you go to Psalms 148, verse 14. The saints are the Israelites. The saints is not all nations. The saints are the Israelites that are faithful, making a sacrifice unto the Lord. We don't make the animal sacrifice. So what sacrifice do we do? Because first, let me get this, because we're a spiritual house. If can anybody write in the comment section, if anybody is there, write a 1 in the comment section if you're getting edified. If you're not, just put a 2. Right? Put a 1 in the comment section if you're getting edified. This is 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. And ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, and a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahushua and Mashiach. We are a spiritual house to bring forth spiritual sacrifice. How do we do that? Right? In Yahushua. How do we make spiritual sacrifice? If you are being edified, put a 1 in the comment section. If not, put a 2. Right? This is Romans chapter 12 in verse 1. It says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. So the sacrifice we doing on this side is spiritual. It's ourselves. First, speaking to the men, right? Women, you make a sacrifice when you're not being of this world, right? Yes, I use Women as an example, not the same as men. You women, you know what you deal with on this side. You sacrifice your emotions and feelings, like when we look at a the women in 2nd Maccabees. She had to put on man courage, but she still had a woman thought when she was seeing her children get afflicted. A woman has to sacrifice this Western mindset to actually walk in this thing, to be beside the men of the Lord, right? Sacrifice the thing of this world. Sacrifice the Western mindset so that you can walk in a spiritual mindset, right? Where a woman is not trying to usurp authority of a man, right? Just because I'm using these examples just to say how can a woman sacrifice. Where a woman, you're not trying to hold the thought with a man that can't do, who he can't like, oh, you already got a girl, this girl. Women, you have to sacrifice that, because a man still gonna have nuts regardless. If you feel a certain way, he's gonna still bring forth millions of sperm regardless, with you or another woman or another one. It doesn't matter. You sacrifice those things, it helps you to grow more spiritually. A man, he sacrificed more for the ministry, especially if he's teaching. What if a man not teaching? He sacrificed too when he's laboring, teaching his wife and his children. He's sacrificing certain things on this world that absorb him. Like a man is not putting all his energy in traveling. Oh, let me get all this money, right? He's sacrificing, putting more time in the Lord. Just because he's not a teacher, don't mean he can't sacrifice, okay? But the men of the Lord are the example of that spiritual sacrifice, because they come on the highways and byways, right? They're working a 9 to 5 or a 5 to 9, 8 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours overtime, and they find time to study. They find time to do camp, to do lessons. They put their family in the back burn, but it's not really putting their family back burn, because they live with their family, they love their family, they dealing with their family, but it's talking about all that gushy stuff, right? Yeah, you might go do some fun, but you put more time in doing a lesson, more time being about Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. That's making a sacrifice. You know, living like you don't have a wife. Like a woman, she make a sacrifice like she don't have a husband, like it's really pertaining to her how she moved in this ministry, right? So those are the spiritual sacrifice that we're making on this side. Lord willing, that makes sense. So back to Revelations 9, reading it from the top. And they went up into the breadth of the earth and compassed the camps of the saints, that beloved city, right? And the beloved city is speaking about the elect, right? The elect are beloved, right? It says, because when it goes back to Revelations 21, what is the elect symbolic to? Revelations chapter 21, verse 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from the Most High out of heaven, prepared as a bride adored for her husband. Now, that city is speaking about the Israelites, but the chariot is going to look like a mountain, and it's going to look like a city coming from the firmament, the sea of glass, right, coming down, right? So that beloved city is the elect coming down with Yahushai. It says in Revelations 20 and 9, to finish it off, and fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them. What does this sound like? Sodom and Gomorrah, the fire and brimstone coming out the heavens. But no, this is going into the missiles, right? This is going into the ICBM missiles coming out of the heavens, right? Where it said the stars have fallen. Let me go look that up, because I got other precepts in my head and I'm not able to is this it? Missiles. So Let me see if I got it. Okay, this is Salaki. Salaki. Oh man, my phone. What the heck just happened? My phone started acting slow, Salaki. Okay. When you go into Isaiah chapter 9, verse 5, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So, old battles were fought with swords and shields. This one will be with burning and fuel of fire, meaning modern warfare, which goes into nuclear fire, because back then you was using swords, arrows, the joint where they put the rock and put gasoline and shoot it. That's not the same, right? I believe in 2nd Esdras. We're gonna stay on this point because I want to make sure that we get the whole loaf, right? What is it? 2nd Esdras, I think in the 6th, the beginning of 15 or 16. Let's see if I can get it. So it's a good time. It's good timing. Is this the one we want? Because I know it got good points in chapter 15. Okay, this is 2nd Ezra 16. I'm a read verses and I'm a hop so that we can understand these is going into the missiles. 2nd Ezra 16 verse 3. A sword is set upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench and extinguish it? Drop it down to verse 7. It says, may one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer. What's a strong archer on this side? Right on this side. When you look at Judges 5 and 11, right? The silos is the great archer. Silos. When you look at an arrow, the arrow is the missile, but what is the archer? The bow. So what's the modern day bow? The silos. Verse 8, it says, the mighty Lord sendeth plagues, and who is he that can drive them away? What is those plagues? The ICBM missiles going from continent to continent. It says, and who is he that can drive them away? A fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it? He shall cast lightnings, and who shall not fear? He shall thunder, and who shall not be afraid? Yahweh Shema Shai shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence? Right now, you got multiple things when Yahweh Shai come that can beat you into powder. You got the ICBM missiles, which really is going to melt, disintegrate, and melt your tongue and your eyeballs. But then you got the laser beams, the controlled fire from the chariots that's going to zap you into dust. Verse 12, it says wait, let me see. I want to get to every point that proves the arrows. Verse 13, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. That goes into Isaiah 54 and 16. I created the smith. I created the waster. The waster is the ICBM missiles, the destroyer. Or Jeremiah 51 verse 1 and 2, the destroying wind. Verse 13, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss, when they begin to be shot into the ends of the earth. First ends of the earth, go back to Acts, the 1st chapter, where he was telling the apostles go to Judea, Jerusalem, Samaria, and to the uttermost part of the earth. The uttermost part of the earth is the ends of the earth, going all the way to the Western Hemisphere. So Russia is what, 5,000 kilometers, 5,000 plus kilometers away from America. They ICBM missile can go 15,000 kilometers. You know, that's to the ends of the earth, right? China, their missiles can go to the ends of the earth, right? This is not speaking about ancient warfare. We just read in Isaiah 5, you know, even though that verse was, you know, go in more detail, ancient modern warfare was with swords, arrows, and shields. We got different warfare weapons now, right? Way advanced. So when the prophets was prophesying these things, they were saying it in the best of their ability. Psalms 119, verse 99 and 100. I know more than the ancient. Why would we know more than the ancient? Because the Lord was dealing with our apostles on this side and the men of the Lord to be able, especially speaking about Great Millstone, to go into this understanding and bring it forth on this side, especially when Esau made missiles. It made more sense when you're like, yo, that's that destroyer, right? That's the destroying wind. Those the new modern day arrows. That's gonna breathe the fuel of fire. Those are the stars that's falling from the sky. That's not literal stars, okay? Because the Rakak Wadash fell on the men of the Lord. So verse 14, it says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth, right? So when the Lord put that spirit on Esau, when we look at Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, verse 10, he get an evil thought. He's going to press that button and the missiles are going to go and hit the earth. You know, when you look at what is, I think, Revelation 9, 200,000, which goes into 200 million, really warheads, are going to touch Babylon and destroy it completely, let alone the lasers of the chariots, right? I want to see some what brothers posting. Right? Come. So, let's go back. Verse 15, the fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth, like as an arrow. So this is like as an arrow, which is shot of a mighty archer. What's the mighty archer? The silos. Returneth. Salaki family. Okay. When you go back into, let me see. So like as an arrow, which is shot of a mighty archer, returneth not backwards, right? Those is the missiles. That's why Esau trying to make the missiles so crafty so that they actually go to their target, in which they're perfecting. When you see certain accounts, Russia said back then, their silos got cut on, not by their own hand. They said they seen a UAP above the military area of Russia, and it was turning on the silos. Russia started saying, oh, we almost started World War III. And then the chariot, the UFOs, the UAP, is really a chariot of the Lord, shot out the atmosphere, and then the silo turned off. Is the Lord really going to really control those things, man? When Donald Trump saying ain't going to be no World War III, thou sayest you were set up to be a ruler because of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. This is how we know we believe in the Lord, right? How you believe in the Lord? Because of a book. Man, the Lord put his words in the book so that we can be able to understand what happened in the past. Throughout history, everybody been writing. Other nations been writing because other nations know their history. How? Even when we go to Egypt, them writing on the wall, that's still information. So the Lord allows us to have stone, pyrex, animal skin, parchment paper, then paper, right? So that our history, not only just in a big ass picture, is going to travel with us. So this word was handcrafted in the heavens, because he told Ezekiel, eat the roll. He told John the Revelator, eat the roll and write it in the book. Come on, man. want to just give all praise and tawada, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, man. Because without him having his word written, or not being able to have the scribes or the prophets be moved by the Rakak Wadash, you see that example in 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter, where Ezra was prophesying from sun up to sundown. The fire of the Spirit was on him, and the 5 men was writing in a language that nobody knew from sun up to sundown. They were example as scribes, and they was moved by the Rakak Wadash, man. So we got to be thankful for this word, man. Right? Do you really believe? Do you got to see something to believe in them? Come on, man. Let me see if we got another one of the arrows. I think y'all got it. I think y'all got that. So going back, let me get these other precepts so that we can seal the deal with that fire from the sky. Isaiah 54:16, what I quoted earlier. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument of his works. And I have created the waster to destroy. The smith represents the scientists, the engineers of the Most High on this side. Really, speaking of teaming, right? The Germans, when you look at Project Paperclip, raised up to create nuclear weapons, the waster to destroy. Because what do missiles do? Man, it wastes lands. Multiple people having dreams and visions of Babylon being destroyed by water and becoming a wasteland. You can't make a wasteland with bow and arrows. Multiple bow and arrows hitting the ground and people on fire. That fire gonna go out. The Lord is using the same, he's doing the same thing he did in Sodom and Gomorrah, but using modern warfare. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10 to 12. But the day of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, extreme heat. Arrows, real bow and arrows can't do that. The Lord is going to use ICBM missiles, and it's going to level out. He's going to level out Babylon. It says elements melting with fervent heat equals atomic fire. That's the same fire from heaven that devours the wicked in Revelations 20 and 9. Let's read that again. Revelations 20 and 9, it says, and fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them. Who was they devouring? The devil that deceived them was cast out into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophets are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Now, there's going to be a point in time, right? Their kingdom, right? The certain places that's going to be destroyed is Babylon and Israel and other places. But America is going to be the place that's going to be totally destroyed. You're going to have certain kings and nobles of Esau's empire that's going to have bunkers in the United States or in certain hill mountain countries that's in the outskirts of the United States. And they're going to be destroyed. But the Lord is going to preserve the top elite, right? The top wicked, okay? Malachi 4:1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, all that do wickedly shall be stubble, starting with Esau, because the third part of men will be destroyed. 3 parts of men: the sons of the wicked, the sons of men, the sons of God, right? The son of men is the other 16 nations. The sons of the wicked is the Edomites, that's 17. The sons of God is the Israelites, that's 18 nations altogether. Woo-hoo. Hear it again. The sons of God, the sons of the wicked, the sons of men. The sons of God are the Israelites. That's 1 nation. The sons of the wicked is the Edomites. That's 2 nations. The sons of the nations, right, or the other heathens, that's the 16 other nations. You put that together, that's 18. Going back to Genesis, the 10th chapter. Come on. Joel chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behold, them a desolate wilderness. So the prophet Joel saw missiles, which symbolic was to arrows, because he didn't know what missile was. It wasn't missiles in his time. Destroying the land, what was once paradise, becomes desolate. That fire devouring before them matches the fire from heaven. This is all prophecy. So Babylon was paradise. Let's get it in the scriptures. Now, this wasn't planned, man. I had plans for a different way in slavery. But when that man, Sean Porter, said what he said, and, you know, you really asking the Lord, please move me. Let me teach things that I'm able to teach. Allow it to be edifying, allow it with sound doctrine, 100% truth. And, you know, the Lord is moving. I want to just get to the point. This is Revelation chapter 18, verse 7. How much she have glorified herself, speaking about Babylon, lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? This is the place that is tender and delicate. I wanted to get that. It's really going through the whole 100th chapter. Going up to verse 3, it says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of her wrath, of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth, the merchants is those that, you know, making shop or making trade from country to country, nation to nation. That's how America made its wealth, especially when you look at slavery. For the cotton that we got, silk, polyester, that goes from them conquering lands and making people subject to, you know, picking cotton. You know, you got cotton because your children, your ancient forefathers in the start of America was picking cotton. You know, Esau was using everybody, but he started with the southern and northern kingdom. He was speaking smooth words to them Hamites. He was speaking smooth words to the Chinese, brought them over here. They was working too. Esau was afflicting the whole earth. That's why Daniel, the 7th chapter, verse 23, he was devouring the earth. Her delicacy, verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not her plagues. Right? You come out of this place spiritually, right, by removing yourself of this American mindset. But you working towards getting that physical departure by getting beamed up by Yahweh Shai, right? This is why you should be working to be of the elect. The elect believe, right? The elect is hearing the word, right? You got people saying, I believe. Oh, I don't need to be taught. I don't need to watch videos. I don't need to learn. I'm not gonna lie. The elect don't move off of that. Because when you look at the word elect, it means the best of its kind or the best of its class. So if you're the best of your kind and the best of your class, you want to learn. You're hearing the word. You're cleaving to the word. You growing because of the word. Because faith come by hearing the word. The elect is growing in faith. Right? If you are of the elect, you are hearing this word daily. You know, as much as you can. You know? It doesn't matter what spiritual discernment you got. Oh, I seen this. It don't matter what man, what woman, what child, whatever abilities you think you may have. In order to really grow in the Lord is by the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? Shalom, shalom. Yahweh Shemashai Brakatah to the brother Clyde. So Revelations 18 verse 5, for her sins have reached to heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. So Jake, whatever you're doing, whatever Babylon is doing, whatever Esau doing, four corners of earth, the Lord remembered. Like when Michael Jackson say, do you remember, girl? Do you remember me and you on the phone? What about us? The Lord remembers, man. He remembers how he was afflicting you. He remember how this whore, this slut bucket, right? Because in Revelations the 17th chapter. This is a whore, you know? It's like a harlot woman, symbolic to Eve, being touched by multiple men. Babylon is touched by all different cultures, by all different religions, you know? Donald Duck said this is a Christian country, but constantly helping Judaism or Zionists, where Zionists are not Christians. Make that make sense, man. Make that make sense. Shalom, Gabriel, Swords, Yahweh Shemashai Brakatham, man. A privilege to see brothers and sisters, you know, coming alive, getting edified. Right, we just going into prophecies. Everything we going into now stems from what Sean Baker was saying about the dates did not add up. Dates that I was saying, but the person didn't finish hearing the whole conclusion, so we can add all the numbers so you can actually fully understand. They said 1492 is when the Europeans was dealing with the 12 tribes. But that person was just only thinking about the Northern Kingdom in America, but didn't bring out prophecy because Sean Porter is a Jewish. So for the brothers and sisters that just got on the live, if you can, and you can put it on the comment section if you can, when you go to Revelations 11, it says they would be dead in the cities for 3 days and a half. 350. Put 350 in your calculator. 350. And put 350, write it down on the paper, put that aside. Now, subtract 2025 from 1776. That would be 249 years that America been an empire. So now, add 350 plus 249. Put it in the comment section. What number do you get? 350 plus 249. What number do you get? 250 is 249 is how long America been established as an empire. 350 years is the estate that the Israelite been in the dead estate. Add those two numbers up, you're going to get the right completion number, how long we've been in the hands of the Europeans. If somebody can put that answer on the comment section. For those that have been watching, you already know the answer. For those that just came in, I mean, you might be busy. Lord willing, your calculator. 350 plus 249, you should get the number 599. Okay? Now, if you put in your calculator 2025, yup, okay, the brother did it. Okay, the brother already did it, Clyde, you good. Now add 599 to 2025. No, Salaki, take that back. 2025, subtract 599. What number do you get? 2025, subtract 599. 2025, subtract 599. So Baker said 1492 is when the Europeans such and such. But when you look at history and calculate the numbers in these prophecies, 1426. So we had to deal with the Europeans since 1426. And the Europeans was building an empire, or the Renaissance getting established between after that 1,000-year period in between approximately 1300 AD all the way to mid 1400 AD, leading to 1500 AD, where eventually in between the 1400s to the 1500s, the Europeans had Christopher Columbus came to explore the Western Hemisphere, then brought scouts back to Europe, and then they started to establish the reign of the world, but then they start pushing that damn Jesus image. So then we showed in prophecy, I'm just giving y'all a recalculation of everything brought out. Revelations, the 20th chapter, verse 1 and 3, drop down to 6. Salaki. Revelation 7 to 10, right? Backing down the understanding of the Renaissance all the way to this time leading to the missiles. So now we're showing in prophecy, in the ancient world, when the prophets was prophesying about arrows, they didn't know that these was talking about modern warfare weapons. We're not using bow and arrows as modern warfare weapons. Not saying war people don't use knives, swords, arrows, but the main weapon is guns, grenades, flash grenades, bombs, missiles, ICBM missiles. That's the modern day weapon, okay? So Jeremiah 50 verse 25, Yahweh have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the work of Yahweh Ba'Shem Al-Shai, power of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. Weapons of the indignation means nuclear missiles coming out of Yahweh's armory. Isaiah 54:16, the Lord said, I created the smith, I created the waster. The smith is a nation, it's a people, right? Which is the scientists, the engineers that make these bioweapons. The Lord created them. Didn't the Lord create all things that you see and don't see, right? And then he created these weapons. He put it in Esau's spirit. Instead of the angels making fire and brimstone out of the elements, he made Esau use biochemical warfare, right? To use technology and biochemist weapons, liquid, mixing this and mixing that to make missiles that can destroy freaking cities, countries, right? The Lord not playing, man. Revelations 14:10, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone. Revelations 20:10, and in the presence of his holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Now those angels is not just the angels that been with the Lord the whole time. Those angels is representatives, messengers. Those angels are the elect that came with Yahweh Shai, that died on his side for the ministry. And those angels is the elect that was enduring to the end, that he beamed up. Because we're going to be in our original estate. Oh, no, brother. We ain't no angels. Let's prove that with the scriptures. Let's go to the book of Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 12, verse 8. It says, in that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. David was a warrior. He was a man of war. And the house of David shall be as God. The house of David is the tabernacle of men. It's men. Revelation chapter 21, verse 3. The tabernacles of the Lord is men. Amos 9:11. The Lord is raising or rebuilding the tabernacle of David. The tabernacle of David is the 12 tribes of Israel, which is the men, the 144,000. You can't have a nation without the men. You can't even bring forth a nationality without the men. It says, and the angels of Yahweh before them. So the men are going to be angels. You women, you're going to have glorified bodies. You're going to be in a glorified form. But you men are representative of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You're the real representatives on the earth, right? That's teaching. Because, what is an angel? A messenger. What is the men of the Lord? Messengers, ministers, representatives of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai when they come out in the highways and byways, man. Right? So we just proved that even the Israelites are considered angels. It said the inhabitants of Jerusalem. This is pointing to the whole 12 tribes of Israel, man. The Lord got something special for us, man. Come on, man. Hey. And we don't even deserve it, man. We don't even deserve it. Let's get that. It would be dope if a brother can put 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9. But I don't think it's going to put the whole verse. So I'll look it up. Second Timothy chapter 1 and verse 9 in the NLT. It says, for the Most High saved us and called us to live a holy life. He did this not because we deserve it, but because that was his plan from before the beginning of time, to show us his grace through Hamashiach Yahushai. So the Lord didn't do all of this because we deserve it. This was his plan all along. This is why every day you got to be thankful that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai allow you to come in his truth. You should be thankful that he put that breath of life in you, which is the Rakak Wadash. Especially you men that's teaching. You know, this is a gift. You know, this is afflicting the nations. When you go to Revelations 11:11, when we stand on our feet, the nations started to get afraid, starting with Esau. Like, dang, man, now they know, man. How can we hide this? They don't want you to know this truth, you know? But Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, he set it up for the elect to come in this thing and get that sound doctrine, that 100% truth, you know? All praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. He deserves all the praise. He deserves to be glorified. He deserves to be magnified. He deserves to be spoken about. He deserves to be thought about. You know, that what spirit you in when you seeking the Lord. It, like some of these precepts we bring out, we already brought them out. What spirit you in when you like, man, I don't know. I mean, I don't care. It's edifying. We're gonna bring out the same verses, do the same breakdown over and over again. Right? We might do the same lesson in 4 days. We might do this lesson again next week, next month, right? Until all hell break loose and the Lord remove us from the highways and byways. Outcast, 144 chosen one. Shalom. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai Barakatah, man. Shalom, shalom. You know, got to be thankful that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai set this up. Right? What if we wasn't in this truth? We'd still be Negroes, niggas out in the street, man. Right? Our women will really be buckets and don't even know. You know, this is why this is a beautiful thing that this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is out in the world. Right? Let's get that in Matthew, the 24th chapter. The 22nd chapter, not 24. Matthew chapter 22, starting at verse 7. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. Then saith he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which are bidden were not worthy. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. When you go into the word bid, it means call by name or call them to a name. So we're calling the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad. Like I got the big poster, but usually we have just the 12 tribe chart, which lines up with Ezekiel 37, the stick, right? And we're calling Jake, bidding them by name, the 12 tribes of Israel from the tribe of Judah, even though you're not called that. Yo, Jake, this for you. And we bidding you to the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, for you to know what name we coming in, what power we coming in, what knowledge we coming in, right? Because can't come in another name, because you're going to take the children to another direction. And if they get swallowed up in some new doctrine, right, you the blind leading the blind into a ditch, right? Bid them to the marriage. Verse 9, go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. Symbolically, I'm standing right next to a highway, but the highway is a main street, right? And then you got the byways, which is like a side street. Like this is a side street, but it's a main street in some way, because this is a main strip where cars go to get to downtown, right? It's cars passing, people. You don't see a lot of people walking past because they're walking in the street because they see the camera. So they walk in the street where my car is at. Like it's cars coming right now, right in the street, slowing down, looking, a truck. You know, you can hear them in the background. You got cars on the highway, and then you got cars that's actually in the street, slowing down, you know? You got brothers walking right now, turning that way, right? You got people on that side. You got people walking this direction, right? Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, guess what? If people not hearing this word, the Lord will have you speaking to the wind. Right? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. Because the word of the Lord is not going to come back void. This is why even more, the Lord will have the unicorn being edified. The people that's learning on the unicorn. Salaki. This is this is Ezekiel chapter 37 in verse 9. It says, then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith Yahweh Shem Shai power, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. Now, Yahweh Shem Shai was really thinking of the future time. Because back then, while Ezekiel was prophesying in the midst towards Israel, he's speaking to the wind, and the Lord is bringing that word or that action to a direction, and eventually somebody gonna cleave. But when you look at it in a future sense, us speaking to the wind, what do most of the children of the Lord use? They use the internet. You know, most of Jake, how do they hear this truth? By going on YouTube, seeing it on Instagram, seeing it on their Facebook if they seen it, or on TikTok, right? That's the unicorn, right? The satellite, right? Where the internet, where videos, as soon as you go live, people in all different countries can see it. When you post a video, people from all countries, a way of life, can see your video. The Lord is doing a heavy lifting from the beginning of time. And he made it easier on the men of the Lord, where I don't got to be pressed. I'm not going to Orlando. I'm not going to Georgia. I'm not going to DC to go teach the word. The Lord not dealing with me. Man, if you sit your butt down and press record, make a YouTube channel, sit up that video, guess what? The Lord doing the heavy lifting. He used Esau to create these devices to make the ministry easier on the men of the Lord. All you got to do is press record. You know? Nobody, oh, you ain't a man of the Lord if you ain't going to another city, man. You ain't a true man of the Lord if you not teaching his word, pushing his word as much as he give you the ability to do. Everybody do not have the ability to teach, you know? But if you a man, even if you don't know how to teach on the highways and byways, you should be teaching your wife and your children. You know, that's something you should be doing. You know, how the heck you got a wife? How can you dwell with her according to knowledge if you don't know how to teach her? You know, some brothers are shy. Some brothers don't know how to, bring forth the word in the public. Everybody wasn't given that gift, but you can't say that you can't teach your wife or your child. You know, that's your wife. You bagged her. You spoke game to her. A brother get a second wife. You get a third wife. You supposed to double up. How you gonna order your house if you ain't teach her? Nah, babe, go watch them. Man, you the man. You should be able to teach your household, man. Literally. I'm teaching I'm gonna teach mine. And I'm gonna teach anybody that get at it, don't matter who you is. I'm gonna teach the brothers, right? Of course, it could be sisters that's asking questions. It's sisters that's doing that to the apostles. It's sisters doing that to other brothers where they come in the comment section. They might see you on TikTok. They might see you on some type of social media and be like, yo, brother, if I'm not being a bother, can I ask you a question? Is the women part of the elect? Guess what? That brother is going to edify her. You know, if she feel edified, the spirit might compel her to be like, oh, what's your YouTube channel? I want to watch you. The Lord is doing that. It's sisters making garments for the men of the Lord. You know, I know sisters that's making garments for a particular elder that she keep watching. Yo, elder, I made you another garment. And guess what? Most cases, that woman is single. You know, she trying to do her lot for the Lord. I see him. Oh, Lord willing, he like this gift. You know, the Lord is watching all of that, man. You know, this ministry is being watched. Four corners of the earth. You know, gotta be afraid of Yahweh Shem Shai, and gotta be grateful for what Yahweh Shem Shai has done. Right? Let's go to this. Right? Because I keep saying, for you to do this thing, you got to be moved. This is Proverbs chapter 20, verse 24. Man's going are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? It's another one in Proverbs where your words are orchestrated by the Heavenly Father. So the words that you bring forth, the lessons that you bring, that was all by Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. That's why it's good to be used by Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. You know, you bugged out if you don't want to be used by the Lord. Oh, I learned on my own. I did this on my own. You're going to keep saying I. You don't want that spirit. Right? Because the Lord shows us in St. John 14, right, the Comforter is going to give us remembrance of all things. So you didn't do this on your own, right? Let me go to that St. John 15, you know? St. John 15 in verse 16, it says, ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that ye should go and bring forth fruit, that your fruit should remain, and that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you. Right? We were chosen. We didn't choose him. The Christian church said, oh, well, we gonna choose the Lord. No. Yes, it say, choose you this day if you're gonna serve the Lord. Yes, your mind and all of that, how you move, what you do daily, but it's really the Lord. Right? If you in this truth, you're gonna daily seek the Lord with fear and trembling. But if you ain't of this thing, that verse is for you. Why you seek the Lord while he may be found? Those that seeking the Lord most likely is listening to a prophet, right? Because how he not going to be found? When have somebody seen the Lord? He's found by his prophets because they're bringing forth the doctrine. They're bringing forth the understanding, right? St. John 10, what's the voice of the Lord? It's the doctrine, but what is the mouthpiece he's using? The men of the Lord, the prophets, apostles, the evangelists, the leaders. When you go into Revelations 1, verse 19, it says, write these things which thou hast seen, and the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter. The mystery of the 7 stars, which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks, which thou sawest, are the 7 churches. The 7 stars, of course, are the angels. What's an angel? A messenger or a representative. So that means those representatives are the messengers of that church, the 7 church, you know, of Asia Minor, which is the right hand of Yahushai in Revelations 1 and 16 in verse 20, symbolize divine protection, authority. Yahushai controls and unholds all the true teachers and leaders, right? Those are his stars. Revelations 12, the 12 stars, right? That's the Israelites, right? We got multiple precepts where the Lord said that they're going to be like the stars in the heaven, right? They're going to be innumerable where you couldn't even count them, right? It says the angels are the spiritual messengers, which are the angels, prophets, apostles, the true servants, whom Yahushua uses to guide his people. Those is not speaking about literal angels that's teaching in these churches. No. Great Millstone is a church, right? Where even Great Millstone itself, they do public assemblies. They go out, preach the word out as an assembly. It could be 5 brothers, and they teaching out for Jake. That's a church, right? Right now it is a church. Even though it's me, it's a church. The people that's listening now and later, see, now and later, right? That's the church, okay? It's not the angels coming down, but it is angels, you know, that's bringing forth that knowledge unto you, you know? We're all working for Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai, regardless if you the wicked or you the righteous. Everybody playing the freaking role, you know? But what role do you want to be? What role are you pursuing? I don't want to be dead weight. The dead weight is the 2/3. Y'all dead weight. Y'all waste of space, waste of time. You know, I don't want to be that, because dead weight gonna get destroyed. Dead weight get thrown out. Dead weight get taken off and left. I don't want that. I don't want that. For me, no, no, no. I don't want no arrow on my head top. Hell no. Right? What kind of mind you in? Right? What kind of mind are you in? Right, let's get this. We're going to wind down in a minute. We're going to wind down in a minute. I want to bring out this point because it just hit me. Because we knowing that missiles coming, we see people scoffing. This man, what he said, and I'm leaving his comment, leaving that there. So somebody, I mean, even though somebody that watched this live later ain't gonna be able to see his comments, but those that watch it later is gonna see how I went into the scriptures and showed even history. Then calculate numbers so that they could be edified and do their own research, right? So that we could come to a same sound doctrine agreement, you know? So when we look at Paul getting persecuted, getting stoned, this man still got up on his mind to go teach this word. You know, sometimes we might slip the tongue, we might mess up on the understanding, a brother correct you. Guess what? You go fix it and you go back out there, right? When this physical persecution happen, guess what? The elect is still going to believe and call and serve Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, right? People coming all in the comment section. Oh, you brothers believing great. You ain't the prophets of the Lord. We hear that. Of course, you don't want to hear that, especially on the live. But at the end of the day, you don't understand what happened in the ancient world. You don't understand the law, right? So you just don't see it. Guess what? You go to ChatGPT. ChatGPT will find history information and prove that fact. ChatGPT and Google AI will tell you the age women got married in all nations. Most of them start at 12 and some of them start at 14. Come on, man. So you really don't understand, right? So let me just go to this because this is like motivation, how Paul, you know, I want to have that drive. You know, you getting persecuted in a certain way and you still had a desire to teach, you know, bleeding, you weak, you know, you still want to teach, you know. This is Acts chapter 14, verse 9. And there came thither certain Jews from Antioch of Iconium who persuaded the people, having stoned Paul, drew him out. They dragged him out of the city, opposing he had been dead. Howbeit, the disciples stood around about him and rose up and came into the city. The next day he departed with Barnabas to Depree. So when you understand, and where is it in Acts? Let me see if this is it. Let me actually get it. I'm gonna get it. I believe I can get it in a blue letter, get it a little faster. Right? 14. Where was we at? Verse 19. Let's see. Okay. In the NLT, it's Acts 14:19. It says, then some of the Jews arrived from Antioch and Iconium and won the crowd to their side. They stoned Paul and dragged him out of town, thinking he was dead. But as the believers gathered round about him, he got up and went back into the town. The next day, he left with Barnabas in Depree. After preaching the good news in Depree, making many disciples, Paul and Barnabas returned to Lystra and Iconium and Antioch and Pisidia, where they strengthened the believers. They encouraged them to continue in the faith, reminding them that we must suffer many hardships to enter the kingdom of the Most High. This man Paul getting stoned, that's a great witness example, man. He ain't even try to say, look at me, I'm better than you. This is my quote. I always say, you can use it. If I can do it, you can do it too. If you can do it, I damn sure can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. If I could do it, I know he could do it. You know, Paul was telling you, yo, it's great to suffer, right, for the kingdom's sake. You know, Paul want the kingdom. You know, they thought he was dead. That man got right back up, served the Lord, man. He got right back up and served the Lord. Right, Yahweh Shai on the cross, and he's seeing all these people that want him crucified. He could have said, hell no, man, we got to destroy. He really went through it. Getting afflicted, getting smacked, getting beat, getting the joint stuck in his skin and getting ripped out, getting nailed, then his ankles, and then hanging there where the blood flow. Oh my goodness, it's a heavy weight. And hanging there all bloody looking. looking worse than what crackheads would look like. This was talking about our Savior, and he did that for us, right? A real man of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, is willing to get afflicted, willing to go to measure, willing to go to distance for this truth. Come on, that's amazing, man. That's amazing, right? Because we read in Revelations 19, which kind of fulfill 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, verse 70 down, that we brought out. Because they're on a mission to afflict the church, right? That's what the Spirit gonna hit them with. Revelations chapter 20 in verse 9 again. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints, the beloved city. So now 2nd Ezra 16 gonna come into play, where they're gonna be trying to remove you out your house, trying to know who you is, even though they know the men of the Lord, but they about to come press you, man. That's why some of the elect gonna get pressed to take the MOTB. And if you don't, they gonna put you to death, man. Put you to death. Oh, you don't want to take it? Let's get that. Revelations 13:15. Revelations 13:15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, right? That image is that new world order. That beast just goes back into Rome, which is accumulated to Babylon, NATO, and EU, right? That system, and cause that as many as should not worship the image of the beast should die, right? It should be killed. So if you're not worshiping the image or taking a MOTB, right, agreeing to this new system, this philosophy, you're gonna be put to death. Put to death. Like when you go back to going to the law, Deuteronomy the 28th chapter. Deuteronomy chapter 51. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 50. It says, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. Esau showed a true example of not caring for the people of old or young. Right? In slavery, they had touched your daughter at the age of 7. And we're not saying, oh, can I bar off your daughter? No, they took her by ravishing her, taking her without your consent, right? And then after get done, ship her somewhere else, right? They might be a fruit loop and touch your son, right? What they do? They sold the son as a harlot and sold the daughter for wine. They was doing any and everything to the children of the Lord, man. You know? The Lord remember what they done. That's why it says their wickedness or their iniquities reach unto the heaven, and the Lord remember what they done. When people say, oh, y'all still thinking about slavery, man, y'all should forget that happened a minute ago. Why are you celebrating 4th of July? That happened in 1776. Literally. How many years ago was that? 250 years ago. Guess what? Physical slavery was as long as that. We were still getting afflicted. You couldn't drink certain water in the 1776. We wasn't together in 1776. We were still in segregation, right? You were set apart, right? You was looking at as 3/5 of a man. So that wasn't 250 years is not that long ago. 249 years is not that long ago. Then you celebrating Juneteenth. You're not even free. You wasn't even free at that time. Right? Black History Month is a mockery of all you Jake. Thanksgiving. First they just say it's just, a gathering of food. But now they want to say in remembrance of the natives. No, y'all mocking the shit out of the Northern Kingdom. The Gadites and the Reubenites. Didn't call it Indigenous Day. You think we care about a day? You think we care about this damn holiday? What the hell that's doing for us? That's doing shit. Man, literally, right? We could keep on going. Y'all celebrate 9/11. That's old. America keep telling you to forget all that other stuff, but they over here celebrating shit that was old. Think about it, man. So I think we're going to close on that one. Yeah, I think we're going to close on that one. Lord willing, Yahweh Shem Shai allow me to do another camp tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow. But first and foremost, I want to face the east and give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh, the water Yahweh, Ba'ashem Shai for another edifying lesson. Lord willing, the sheep can take your word and actually be diligent. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. A mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same spirit. Lord willing, you continue in sound doctrine. Shalom to the Akwaf, the sisters of this faith and this truth. Lord willing, you continue to pursue your lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. And Lord willing, Yahweh Shem Shai has mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. You know, we in the spirit in the time of prophecies being fulfilled. Do you truly believe? Because if you truly believe, your actions will show. But with that, shalom, shalom.